All right, it looks like it's 7 o'clock, so we're going to get started. And the microphones are a little weird, so if I squeak, I apologize. Zoning Board of Appeals. And I'm going to switch things around a little bit because 1927 Davis Corner, I have an application to withdraw. So I have a letter saying I am writing to request to withdraw without prejudice our application for CCC Wellfleet NV. If the board has any questions, please let me know. And we told him his attendance was not requested, so I need a motion to allow them to withdraw without prejudice.
Move to withdraw the 1927 without prejudice.
For the record, I'm recusing myself from that.
Okay, yes, right, and so is Nick.
So am I recusing
Yeah,
myself?
right. I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? All right, done. Drawn without prejudice. Okay. And now we'll go back to the order in which they come. So it's Barisano, which has no number. So Ben, would you like to come on up?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. The board is, it's Trevor, Mick, Bruce, me, and Will substituting for Retha.
What about Manny?
No, I
Oh, you
wasn't.
you recusing?
The last time.
May I?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Good evening, everyone. It's nice to see you again. I'm Ben Zunder, and I'm here on behalf of Dana and Colleen Barisano for the property on Cooper Hall Road. The last time we were here, we presented a reduced scale project, putting all the living area on one floor, eliminating the second floor, having non-habitable space in the basement area. And the abutters immediately to the west, the Regan family, had asked that we try to move the house further away. So we've done that. What we've done is Tim Brady, who's our engineer, has gone to the Board of Health. He's obtained revised variances, health variances for location of the septic system, which allows the house to be sited all the way to the east side of the property. We submitted those plans to the Regans. We've had some conversations, and they have told us that they will not object to this new proposal. One of the things that we're asking the board to impose is a condition that the basement level not be habitable space. They had asked that that be incorporated, and just for the board's information, we've agreed that we will, outside of the four corners of this particular proceeding, come to an agreement on putting some screening on the Regan's property. I think they'd like to look at the house when it's there to see where they want to have it, and also we're going to have a discussion about shared costs on the driveway. Either of which I think need to be incorporated into any type of approval if you see fit to approve. So with those comments, I would ask the board to consider the site plan dated December 30th that was submitted. I believe it was December 30th. It was submitted on December 31st. But the most recent site plan as the plan of record, as well as the most recent elevations and floor plans of the property.
Okay.
That's my presentation.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Questions?
Which of the plans you want us to stamp? I mean, seriously, you got more
Yeah,
paper here
it
than...
was, the house design plans are dated September 13, 2019.
Do you have a sec?
So I can,
September thir-
I got the house plan.
Okay, I'm sure I'll find them.
You
What
work
about the
on
site
that.
plan, Ben?
the site plan is dated, it's from Tim Brady, and I believe it's dated December 31st. And we filed it on 12/31.
Yeah,
So-
revised December 20th, 2019, that's the
I'm
one.
sorry, December 20th. I would have 30th
No,
in my
that's
head.
fine.
You're right, Vic. It's December 20th.
Because we got the old,
Yeah, got it, thank you.
Do you have them all so you can find them for me?
Yeah, that's fine.
So, Ben, is this the same plan that we saw that you presented at the last meeting that this
It
was
is.
discussed?
It's the same house plan. It's just the house has been moved before, I believe it was 17 feet off of the westerly line, and now it's been moved to 27 feet. It's been pushed all the way to the east side of the lot.
This one, I think.
Yeah.
So that was a different plan than what was,
Well,
it's the same house but in a different location?
Same house,
Right.
moved roughly, I believe it's another 10 or 12 feet further to the east.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
And actually, those are the things I
All
need to
three of
check,
us can go like
is the front setback is, what, I need to fill in the blanks here, and
Yes.
and my eyes are bugging out trying to look at those. But it looks like it's a front setback of 11 feet from the
All right, this is
from
site
the
plan.
dwelling,
It's 11 feet from the dwelling, but it's 2 feet for the deck.
and 2 feet from the deck,
The above
okay.
deck, yes.
And the side is 9 feet from the south and 7 from the north,
No,
Yes.
this is a different.
and
That's all.
the rear is 27,
That's a-
Yes,
okay. And the area didn't change,
did not.
okay. That was where I
Thank you, ma'am.
couldn't see. Sometimes those numbers get really small. And the other question was, we've got approval from the Board of Health now,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yesterday.
Yesterday.
I wasn't there. I was informed by Tim Brady that they approved.
Okay. All right. And for the boards, we do have a letter from the Reagans. I don't think I need to read the whole letter. Do I?
No, you don't.
We read
Okay,
it.
but it says that, although they have concerns about the fragility of the site, they withdraw their objection to the plan.
And it should be noted that they're not here this evening and they attended every other hearing.
Right, exactly. And this is from their lawyer.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
so-
I spoke with her counsel today. She
Yeah.
informed me that she was not going to come down. So.
Yeah.
Right. There was no need. Okay. Any other questions from the board? Anybody from the audience? Mr. Barazano would like to leave.
Yes.
I know you do.
It's been a long time.
Okay.
I'll move we close the hearing and go to findings.
Okay, very good. Second?
I'll second that.
All in favor? Okay, I have my findings. I have multiple sets of these findings. This is an application for a special permit under Wellfleet zoning bylaws 6.1.5B and 6.24, and Massachusetts General Law C-40A S6, pursuant to which the applicant seeks to demolish the existing one-story, two-bedroom dwelling and replace it with a one-story, two-bedroom dwelling.
Two-story.
Yeah, well, the basement is inhabitable space.
All right.
The board has inspected the subject lot and dwelling and has reviewed the application. All documents submitted with, and in support of, and all documents, I'm going to take that part out, submitted with and in support of the application. The lot is in the National Seashore Park District. The dwelling is lawfully pre-existing, non-conforming structure, having been built in 1950 according to the assessor's office. I think that they just decided everything in the seashore was built in 1950. I've never
Right,
seen
like-
anything in the seashore that was not built in 1950. Just an interesting
This is as
aside.
good as a
No,
mile.
there's stuff built after 1950.
I know, but nothing before.
No.
Yes. I know, but they made it
It hasn't been
1950.
updated since.
The dwelling, the existing nonconformities regarding the structure are inadequate lot area, front setback, I'm not going to read all the numbers, side yard setbacks, rear yard setback, and maximum National Seashore Park gross floor area, and so forth. The proposed new dwelling placed close to the existing footprint will continue non-conforming in the following areas. Front setback 11 feet from the dwelling and 2 feet from the deck, where 50 feet is required. Side yard setback 9 feet from the south and 7 feet from the north, where 35 feet is required. Rear yard setback 27 feet, where 35 is required. Maximum National Seashore Park gross floor area, 24.9% lot coverage, where 5% is allowed for lots containing less than 10,500 square feet of lot area. According to NPS calculations, property may be increased by 252 square feet to 756 square feet. The applicants propose an increase to 748 square feet. Is that number still right?
It is.
The current structure is in state of disrepair. The applicant will remove the current overhead utility lines and replace them with underground electric service, thereby improving the physical access to the property and general appearance of the area. There will be no change in use. There will be no material increase in use. The use conforms with the objectives of the National Seashore Park District. There were, I'm going to say, 2 letters in support of the application because now the Reagans are supporting and the Seashore was supporting last time. Roads, drainage, and other public services are adequate for the project, and the project has received approval from the Board of Health. The board has found pursuant to Wellfleet zoning bylaws 6.24.3, landscape will be preserved to the extent possible. A stone retaining wall is proposed to prevent erosion. The applicants propose to install underground utilities. Lighting will be consistent with Wellfleet Building Code regulations. Lot coverage will be approximately 5 times the required 5%. The board has found that pursuant to Wellfleet zoning bylaw 8.4.2.3, scenic views from public ways and developed properties have been considerately treated. The proposed new structure will be on or close to the existing property. The new structure will be higher than the existing structure. However, since the neighboring home is at a higher elevation than the proposed structure, the increased height of the new structure should not obstruct the neighbor's view, and therefore the board finds that scenic views have been considerately treated by the applicant. Reasonable efforts have been made to minimize visibility of parking and service areas from public streets, and traditional public access to or along the shoreline has been maintained. Proposal will not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood, herein considered to be the Ocean View Drive area, than the existing non-conforming structure, and the applicant has demonstrated that the benefits of the proposal will outweigh any adverse effects on the town and the vicinity after considering the district objectives for the National Seashore Park District as provided for in the Wellfleet zoning bylaws regarding alteration of non-conforming structures and lots and for granting of National Seashore Park special permit.
Good job.
Thank you. And I don't think I had any numbers wrong. Okay,
I'll move we accept the findings as written.
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Now we're going to add a condition.
I'll move we grant the special permit, subject to the
Subject,
condition
okay.
that the lower level not be used for habitable space.
I will second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and the condition will be basement will not be habitable space.
Nick,
Who
We gotta
did
stamp
second?
some.
Nick did.
Mick.
I
Mick did.
seconded.
Mick seconded. Okay, thank you. All right,
Oh, I'll stamp it.
you stamp. I'll initial, and
You sure you got the right ones there, Bruce?
Yes,
make sure he has the right
he
one.
does.
I have enough site plans. Manny gathered them. I think I have enough.
And need another one? I can dig
I'll
them out.
just stamp everything.
Stamp everything in sight.
Don't do that.
Here's another set of these, but I don't know if I've got,
I think
I
we're
don't
good.
know if I've still
I
got the
think we're
house
good, Sharon.
plans. Okay. All right, very good.
You may have more than
And-
you need, but an abundance of riches.
I have to initial them, date them? What do I do here? I initial them or date them? Chris,
I don't have many of these.
do I just date them
I didn't
on the
have-
stamp?
I didn't get that.
Okay.
Here's the deal. Many of us didn't get that, so you only have one copy.
Okay, I think I had one.
That was from the last.
That's from last time.
Oh, last time.
Save it out of the last.
Yeah, I have to save it out of the last application, which I think I
That's called
I
hoarding.
did.
Ben might have some.
I think I've got it,
Ben,
if I can dig it out.
do you have any extra plans?
One set.
House plans?
Yeah, would you want one set for stamping?
I might
One or
have some.
two.
Some of us are not hoarders, so we didn't keep them.
No, right here.
When it is
We get a
still
site plan as well.
under consideration, you have to hang on to it.
Thank you, Sharon.
I might have it in here, but
Put them all away. Here's, you're stamping the elevation, floor plans, and site plan?
Yeah,
floor, house plans.
Yeah. Floor
house
plans,
plans.
Great, thank you, Ben.
we'll do site plan as well.
We have enough site plans.
Oh, you do?
We have
Okay.
plenty of site plans.
House plan, okay.
Yeah, it's the house plan.
The house plans were from last time.
I'm very glad you guys worked it out.
We'll miss seeing you every time.
Here's another.
Have a good night.
You found them after all, or is that the other ones? Don't say.
Did you need one more?
I think we might, but Chris can make a photocopy in the office. We- We may not have enough house plans.
Is this another house plan?
Yes.
Did we stamp it? Oh, yes, okay.
That we will move.
Oh, it's the light, I can throw this down.
All right, then you need one part of this and the if your special permit is granted, so you need one set, but the sets are a mess, so apologize for that, but here. One, those two are that, and then you're gonna need, okay, I think that's a set. I think that is a set of everything.
It's a sewage plan and a site plan.
Yeah, all right, you got all kinds of things, anyway, yeah. Sure, of course. That's all right, we need a moment to get rid of this mess that's in front of me. I don't know if you've done enough. Can I get all of this? This is still all Cahoon Hollow Road. That one, move on to that one. Got another letter. Okay. Still this. Okay. Last.
We don't hear you. Holy builder house.
Oh, you come on, please.
Ready whenever you are, Sharon.
Okay, very good. This is 1733, an application for an amendment to an existing special permit, 5 Holbrook Avenue, parcel 105, to modify the previously approved special permit to replace the first floor deck with a first floor enclosed pervious deck, and the board will be Trevor, Mick, Bruce, Manny, and myself.
Good evening again. I hate to say it, I'm Ben Zender. Love to say it.
Well, you got it right this time.
I did.
Working on
I
it, Ben.
kind of feel like it has to be said, for the record, so I'm sorry if I was talking, but this is actually an amendment of an existing special permit, and Tim Thompson, the owner of the properties in the back row with me. And this board may recall in November of 2017, you granted a special permit for a very difficult site at the end of Holbrook Avenue, right where it comes out at Commercial Street, for a structure that was in the flood zone, to elevate the structure and completely rebuild a very decrepit structure. Partway through construction, Tim, through his builder, and through sort of a comedy, I think, of errors between his building inspector and between the building inspector and his builder, and I'm not placing any blame on Justin on this. They constructed, instead of an open first floor deck, they enclosed the first floor deck with a pervious roof, and some walls that come up a certain number of feet from the deck, and then there's some enclosure windows in there. This was reported to the building inspector, who then referred the matter back to Tim with a request that he come before the zoning board, which we have done. We've submitted the application. We have a site plan, which not only notes the enclosed porch, but also removes on the south side of the property a stairwell, which was to have been removed. In the first go-around, it was still shown on the plan that was approved of record. They never built the staircase, so the staircase has been removed on the plan. The enclosed porch area is shown on the plan. I believe Tim's already gone to the Conservation Commission and has been told that it doesn't need any further review by the Conservation Commission. And you can see in the elevation plan by Gianpietro Architects, the construction aspects, and I'm hoping you've all been out to the site and walked around and taken a look at it, see what it looks. I think it's attractive. I think it's relatively unobtrusive. My own feeling is if it had been before the board as an enclosed area, I don't know how you would have felt about it, but I certainly think it's in keeping with the architecture of the the structure in the neighborhood. So I'm hoping that you will find favor with an amendment to approve this. That's,
Okay.
That's an affirmative vote.
that was the second, I think. yeah.
Okay, now I have a letter, and I have perhaps people in the audience. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak to this? Okay, you need to go to the microphone since we're recording.
David, I'll step back. Lay on the table here.
It's one of them.
I'll step back. I'll give you your.
For the record, I'm David Rowell. I think I served with a few of you. Perhaps Trevor's the only one that was left. For a few years as building inspector in P-Town as well. This, as you know, is a rather complicated case. I guess one of the difficulties that I see is that the work's already been done. And now you're asking for forgiveness. And that puts the town in a position which I don't think is either fair to the board nor the applicant for doing so. Another issue with this is, and I'm not sure why it wasn't looked at, but this is a three-story building. As you're aware, we only have 2.5 stories in Wellfleet. And by definition, this is a three-story building. I'm not sure why that was addressed. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with the case that changed that law in Wellfleet down by the jetty, and that's what precipitated. If you go around the corner, there's a very tall three-story bunker there, and that's what drove the change in the bylaw to create the definition of 3 stories. And I'm not sure why this wasn't looked at. It can be rectified. They would have to lose the basement, which is not an impossible thing, but it's a very prominent location. And to put a 3-story building right there, I think is not appropriate. But that being said, there's also outstanding issues with Justin's violation orders that I think should be taken seriously, and I don't feel as though you should be pressured just to go after the fact to improve them, because that seems like a rather sloppy bit of a way to conduct business. So ask forgiveness, because it was very specific on the order conditions that you first wrote to be built as per plan as an open deck. Clearly it's not. I mean, it was a very small lot. It's a very small house that was on there. This case has been going on for 15 years if you go back to when Audrey owned it. I mean, it's a mess. So I don't feel as though the applicant perhaps did their due diligence in either proposing a plan or following a plan. And those things need to be looked at, and I hope the board would take that seriously and take that under consideration. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Brown. Anyone else? Okay. Kathleen?
Kathleen Bacon, Vice Chair of the Wellfleet Board of Selectmen. I was at that first hearing in 2017 when this board put conditions on this particular property. And I have watched the development of this property morph into something much more than the house that was there, which always had some form of controversy with regard to the conservation and health agent. So I feel that there's been some hoodwinking going on here. I don't know if that's the proper term, but you know, there's definitely much more square footage in this building than what originally sat there on that property. And I feel that it should have stayed at the same square footage. I understand the height issue is because the building had to be raised, you know, with regard to the site. The foundation had to come up a great deal. And then I was really dismayed when I saw the egress with a, you know, what was going to be a stairway and a door, you know, on one side of the building, when I remember at that hearing that was specifically requested that there be no stair or second floor egress. Are we looking at a 2-family home here? Are we looking at something that's going to be potentially, you know, rental on one level and, you know, I don't know. So I would hope that the board sees fit to follow through with the first set of conditions, and we can rectify what's happened on this lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. No one else? I have one letter. As a direct abutter to 5 Holbrook Avenue, parcel, map 21, parcel 105, Thompson Romano, we object to any modification of the approved plan, 1733, October 19th, 2017. The October meeting finding of facts approved. Number 6 stated there would be a decrease in lot coverage of 801 square feet. There was a volumetric increase, which at the time seemed reasonable. However, enclosing a 10 by 28-foot deck, creating additional interior living space, walls, and windows is not reasonable. Number 10, there were no objections from abutters. I guess it's number 11, the demolish and rebuild on the same footprint has been approved by the Conservation Commission. A stop work order was issued and at present is pending with submissions of final plans and compliance. The special permit was approved with the following conditions. The building will be built precisely as shown on the approved drawings. No certificate of occupancy will be issued unless it does so. Deck now not fully enclosed as now constructed. There's to be no parking of construction vehicles on Holbrook Avenue during construction. This requirement not met, including parking on sidewalk, forcing pedestrians into the road. New drawings are to be provided to correct error regarding first floor elevation. As of October 30th, 2019, unable to obtain new drawings. Conclusion, Thompson Romano were granted permits from Conscom and ZBA and believe the permit conditions do not apply to them, even though the special permit says built precisely. I do not believe there should be any further consideration for amendments, modifications to the special permit that has not been followed in several instances, including the deck already enclosed. And that's signed by Donna Picard, 25 Holbrook Avenue. Do I have any other letters, Chris? Okay. All right.
I think he wants to say something.
I don't think I do. You know,
I do.
Manny does.
Can I just get clarification? Was this been approved by the Conservation Commission?
What are we talking about? Being approved? The
Because-
porch?
Yeah, because,
The screen then?
the porch wasn't, because it's a pervious roof over that porch, and I wasn't there, so maybe.
But Ben,
Yeah, please come up to the microphone. Tim can answer. I wasn't at the Conscom meeting, so I
Okay.
can't tell you what they did.
Yeah, so I just want to change the language a little bit. There's not a roof on this deck. It's a two-story deck that was approved by this board and by the Conservation Commission. And so all we've done, which I realize this wasn't handled properly, but we've screened in that porch on the first floor. So there's no roof over the porch. Apparently, my builder had some conversations with Justin, and we thought that we had the go-ahead to screen in the porch, and that was not an issue that would require coming in front of this board. And I think Justin had received some questions or complaints, and so that's why we're coming in front of the board to try to resolve this. But the answer to your question is that, yes, everything that's been done there has been approved by Conservation Commission, and the only deviation from the original plan that was approved by this board is that the porches were screened in, and we thought based on conversations with the building inspector that we were within our rights to do that, and we weren't, and we're here to try to fix that.
well, to be able to build the porch, you would have had to amend the permit.
No,
Yes, you would.
okay?
It would take a building permit to be able to do that work, to install windows, and the walls would have taken, you would have had to change the permit.
That's correct. The porches were approved,
Okay.
we screened them in, and I realize that we shouldn't have done that, but
The
the
house,
porches.
the house looks great to me, and you didn't put the stairs in, which we didn't want you to. That all looks fine.
Right.
And I believe the building itself is built the way how it should be, by the plans that we signed off,
It has been,
except for the porch.
correct.
The first condition was that the building would be built precisely as shown on the approved drawings. If you had any question, you should have gone to Justin, and I shouldn't even say this, because it says it right there.
Right, but
So
you
there
understand-
shouldn't be a question.
We did go to Justin. We did go to Justin, and Justin said that we were okay to do this, and then received complaints from members of the community, and so that's why we're back here.
Well, Justin can't be faulted because he cannot override what we approve.
I understand.
Okay, so you should have understood that then.
Well, I will just say one thing. I have a general contractor that I've hired to do this, so this, I'm not GCing my own job, but I'm here to take responsibility. I'm the homeowner.
But I tell you what, this had to be planned. There had to be some kind of planning before, because you had to order windows and so on. I've been in this business too, with building and so on. And I think we should go back to where it was. And if you want to get a permit to put a screened porch, you can do that after you get a occupancy permit. We specifically said it in the condition not to change anything. You got everything else.
Yeah, I understand, and that's
Okay.
why I'm here. And what I will say is that in terms of the planning that you referenced, ordering the windows or
Yep.
the screens,
Mhm.
yes, those were ordered after we had a conversation with Justin, and we were under the impression that we could do this.
And I bet, you can say that it's pervious. There's no roof there.
Correct.
But I'm sure you have a plan to keep the water out of there, because if you have windows in an enclosed area, and the thing is completely enclosed except for the water that's coming in, the place has got to be, it'll get mildew and whatever else. So that would be a health hazard.
So,
So I just don't understand it. Why would you put windows and, Anyway, so I would say that it should go back to what we wanted, and you can start all over again.
and may I tell you why this option that was presented to me was attractive to me? So I have a 2-year-old, right? And my wife is concerned about the porches and, my child
Absolutely.
climbing up or getting through the rail. So, I'm maybe getting a little bit outside the scope of what is pertinent information. But, my builder's probably like the idea for the change order, right? And is going to charge me to do all this. He presented it to me. My wife really liked the idea. We've got 2 levels of porches here. She was not comfortable with, we're not comfortable with him on the top level that has the rails. So we said, great, build a knee wall and close the porch. We thought we were within our right to do that. And
I
we like that.
understand all of that, and I myself would have wanted to have a screened porch, but you should have thought of that from the beginning.
I agree.
That's all I have. Thanks.
Okay,
Could we- I'd like to hear from Justin, because he's kind of been thrown under the bus here.
Yeah.
So I
Yes.
really think the
Yes,
building
I would-
inspector should have a chance
sounds
to
like a good idea.
say some things.
Justin Post, building inspector. I've never seen an order change their plans from the approved plans, ever.
Pardon, I didn't hear you.
I'm kidding.
Yep.
So Dave called one day, says, I want to put up a 52-inch solid rail, like a shingled solid rail. That was the question that came to me. I said, please come back with some sort of renderings or drawings so I have something to look at with you. And then crickets. Never heard again. And the next time, there was glazing being put above the rail by the time I started writing my letter. So, I mean, the communication channel between his carpenter and I was wide open. And I don't know the communications between him and his carpenter.
Okay, thank you,
Thank you.
Joseph. Okay.
I'll go next. I was here on the hearing in 2017. We were adamant about that deck not being covered. We couldn't have said it any more times than we did without being completely redundant. But I remember sitting here and saying that in the condition, it was to be built per plans. because the conversation come up about screened-in porch. We said no, because there's a volumetric increase. There was a discussion at the board at that time, we could go back and hear the tapes, but we were adamant about the building being the same. And this makes me sad, because I hate to see somebody have to rip something down, and I'm uncomfortable with the way the building inspector got thrown under the bus. That's not fair. We don't do that to our public officials in this town. We hang them afterwards, but it's, on a serious note, it really isn't nice to throw them under the bus like that, and I'm uncomfortable with it. It almost comes to a character assassination. But before you go any further, I'm with Manny on this. I want to see this put back to the way the original permit said, because we were adamant about that when you came in. Of course, we tried to work with you, and that was the plan we came up, and you haven't stuck to it. And this kind of miscommunication thing, I don't know. I think it was very easy to go back and it would have been very easy to go back and ask for a review of the permit before this happened. So.
Janet?
I had a number of questions and comments, but these two gentlemen have covered all of them.
You want to go last? Or you want to go now?
I mean,
Do you want to go last, or you want to
I
go now?
can go, just tell what I think.
Yes,
So,
sorry.
you want me to tell you what I think?
Sure.
Well, I mean, the first thing that struck me is that all we have in front of us is an application to vary the porch from the original plan. A lot of other things have been said, but they're not before us. We can't go outside the application. So I thank those folks for coming in and airing their concerns, but all we're concerned about is the porch. And I think that's what he's doing now. He's coming in for permission to vary the plans. That's the purpose of an amendment. You know, whether we like it or not is a different question, but you know, this isn't the first time. Maybe I've been on the board too long and there's a message here for me, but this isn't the first time we've had someone come in to vary the plans. And sometimes, you know, in this world, forgiveness is easier to get than permission. But, you know, I share Manny's view and Mick's view. I'm just not happy that, you know, sort of go outside what's plain. And, you know, it's tough that way.
Yes.
But that's all I have to say.
Will?
Yeah, my only question coming into this, because I wasn't here for the first part, was to say to fellow board members, would you have approved this screened-in porch to begin with? And I hear the answer is no. So you've answered my question.
Well, I think it's interesting that I don't remember another case where we've ever made a condition that the plans, that the building
There was
be
a
built
reason.
exactly according to plan, because that should be understood. The
There was a
plans are
reason
approved.
for that.
And so there must have been a reason why we made this condition on this case, which
Yeah.
we don't normally do. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It was interesting to read back on the findings on the other one, because there were I mean, I think the reason we made that condition is because we kept hearing, you know, there's a discrepancy on the fourth floor, we're gonna need a new plan for that, you know. This is different than the Conservation Commission's plan, which I understand why that could happen. So that, and the stairway is part of it, but we made that condition, so I thought it was pretty clear, and I think, you know, we do need, you know, I don't think that we would have approved it as what it is now. It's not a screened-in porch, it's a whole new room, because it's got a whole, you know, solid rail, and it's got windows in there. I mean, it's a room. It's not, I mean, I have a screened-in porch. It's got screens all the way to the bottom. This is not a screened-in porch. I understand why you want to do it. I do. I perfectly do. But I think that we're in a bind here that we don't like to do either, but
If I may,
yes.
at the end of the last hearing, I don't know if you saw me go back and talk with Mr. Barazano. What I told him was, he said, can I have the plans? I said, no. I said, I'm going to take the plans. I'm going to send you a letter that tells you exactly what you can and can't do with this permit. Okay? And that's the letter I send out. And the reason for that is because of what's happened in the past. And one thing I have to disagree with, a long-standing theory, is it's not easier to beg forgiveness. It used to be. It's not. If the Thompsons had come in here and said, look, We're partway through construction. It looks like it might be a great idea to enclose that space. We have bugs in the marsh, we have this, we have that, we have a 2-year-old. There would have been a conversation. And it would have been a constructive conversation. And maybe it wouldn't have looked the way it looks now. Maybe it would have been something with less framing, and maybe it would have been something with removable screens. But there would have been a conversation. And that's the conversation that I like to have with this board. It's not this conversation. So the question really becomes, can he keep what he has now? Can he design something lesser than what he has now? Or does he have to remove everything, take it back to zero, and start over, and does that somehow, wipe the slate clean, and then you can look at it as a project in terms of what you looked at it last time? I hate to see people rip things out. I hate to see building inspectors get discussed in public. I didn't do it. I try not to. I do my best to work through the dynamic that we have in town. But, we're sitting here right now with construction that's done, it's been paid for. It's not a trophy house out on the water. If this board could see fit to granting an amendment to this permit that gives the Thompsons the ability to use that space in some way more than an open deck, we would be very appreciative of that.
I'll take that. Thank you, Ben, for that. Again, this makes.
It is what it is, Mick.
This
Thank
makes me really sad. That's all I can tell you. Personally, it makes me sad, but rarely have we been so adamant in our findings. And that's a big neon sign, And there's a reason for that, so.
I hate forcing you guys to say no to things. I mean, I really do. I mean,
Sorry.
would the chair mind polling the voting members as to how they would vote on an amendment to the special permit? I mean, if the board,
Do
if
you
you don't
really
feel like
need-
you want to do that,
I don't think you need to poll the board.
I don't think I do, but it's what I do.
And we've had that conversation a bunch of times, and the board hasn't been comfortable with that.
I think I've heard a lot of what I think I could intuit with that.
I can too, but it's a question that I have to ask, and I don't mean to disrespect my asking it, but I
No,
just,
We're not
that's
going
fine.
to.
I really don't.
Can't
So
do it.
I think
You can't put people on the spot like that.
what we'd like to do is withdraw the application.
Okay.
If the board would consent to a withdrawal of the application at this point, and that would give us the opportunity to go back and look at this. And obviously, right now, the existing special permit is what it is. The requirements are what they are.
Right. Yeah.
You want to withdraw without,
Yeah, I think Tim wants to say something before you close the hearing. Is that okay?
Yeah, I just want to speak to, first of all, the storm windows that are in place right now. So the company that built the screens for us gave us 2 sets, and there's a set of screens, and then there's a set of storm windows for the winter. So that's why you guys saw glass windows, but they're storm windows. So if there was a compromise where get rid of the storms, and we'll never put those storms back in the place where they are right now, the other set that goes in there is a screen set of windows. And the other thing that I'll just, I know you guys are saying that you're sad. I mean,
No, that's just me, nobody else.
well, all right, fine. But I don't think anybody's more, I just, can't tell you how disappointed I am. I think people can look back and remember this site. I mean, I hauled 11 20-yard dumpsters of garbage, and I can't even tell you if I were to sell that house, right? The sale price of that house would be several $100,000 less than what I'm into this for. And this was a labor of love. I've been in Wellfleet for many, many years as a summer person. But, driving by that house and just seeing the state that it was in before, I mean, I know that you guys feel like I got everything that I wanted, but there have been half a dozen meetings with Conservation Commission. I reduced the footprint. I built the house 12 feet in the air, and now I'm being criticized for the height. I just feel like I've done everything that I could possibly do to make this thing a success, and I'm really sorry that people aren't happy. And as far as Justin, my apologies for throwing you under the bus. I know we've had conversations earlier today, and over time, I mean, I just felt like it was my responsibility to state the facts. And I think the problem here is that there's a third party in between us, and that there were conversations that were happening, and I've hired, I mean, I guess it's at this point, this is tens of thousands of dollars, on a project that is already $1 million project for a house that's worth $600,000, and it's crazy, and I thought that people were actually going to be happy. It might sound crazy, but I thought that people were actually going to be happy in this community, that I came in and fixed an eyesore, and I feel like it's the opposite. And I'm really so, I don't know, I'll stop now, but nobody's more sad than me right now. Literally, I want to cry right here at this table because of what this process has been. And I love Wellfleet. I've loved Wellfleet for a long time, but this, almost, makes me want to sell the house and not come back to Wellfleet. So I'll stop talking now.
Can I float an idea?
Sure.
What if the amendment to the permit were that what if we said they couldn't have the screens or the storm windows, but that they could keep the half-wall railing that they've constructed? And the reason I say that is because to remove the screens and the storm windows is not a costly endeavor from a construction point of view. Admittedly, they would have paid for these things that they wouldn't be using, but removing the railings is going to be a lot more intensive from a construction point of view. And they have to have a 3-foot railing there, whether it's a solid shingled railing or a railing with balusters or a railing with cables in it. They have to have a railing. So from my point of view, that would save the applicant a significant amount of money in construction, and would still guarantee, from our point of view, that it's an open deck, that it's not enclosed. And the only compromise we'd be making from the original permit is that instead of having an open railing with balusters, they have a solid railing with shingles.
I would do that all day long, and probably is going to keep me under the table
No,
for
that's,
speaking up.
I
But I would do that all day long. I mean, that's a very reasonable compromise. This is not an intentional situation.
I like to make,
Regardless of, I think that's a good idea, actually. And, I remember a case a while ago. I said I've been on the board for too long, and somebody was caught building something well outside the permit, so someone asked him, why'd you do it? He said, I thought I could get away with it. We gave him the permit. It was the first honest response we'd gotten to one of those, winter building issues. But, if the wall was just there and he wanted to put screens in, no one would object to it. Who wants to sit out there with the mosquitoes? I think the concern is, obviously, there's that provision, and I forgot I was here for that. It wasn't that memorable a hearing. And the condition, it's got to be billed precisely. There must have been something that had come up. I can't remember what it might have been. And I think the concern may be, and I'm not trying to speak for others on the board, is that once you start with the windows, in the middle of the winter, the roof goes on, and it becomes a room. If anyone wants to say that doesn't happen in Wellfleet, then they're not living in Wellfleet. So if we can, I would go so far as to say if he wants to keep the screens, fine. I realize he went outside the permit, but that's why you come back to amend a permit. And this is not the first time someone's come back, I said it earlier, after the fact to amend a permit. After they've done something and, not happy about it, but, just a comment. Some folks came up and complained about this. The town ignored for a long time multiple violations by Audrey on that property and ignored everything we tried to do. And to, suddenly pick on this guy, I find that hard to reconcile. But that's just my opinion.
Nanny?
I just want to say to you, with all the crying that you want to do and all that baloney, you knew what you were getting into. Somebody else could have bought the place and done the same thing that you did. And maybe something worse, I shouldn't say worse, but different. So don't come with that, it makes me sad and you're gonna leave Wellfleet. You got plenty of room. It's where the house is, where the property is. That's why you had to go through such of process. Everybody does. Anybody that has property that's close to the water, or water view, or whatever, you have to go through it. Everybody does, not only you.
Excuse me, a minute. I see the audience people, but we're now in board deliberations, so we can't take audience comments anymore.
So even though, you know, some of the board members want to leave the wall, I'm against it. I'm still against it.
Nick?
I've seen, after
Sorry,
this,
go
I'm
ahead,
done.
Dick.
Go ahead.
I'm done right after this.
Yeah.
I have walked by there, because I walk back and forth with my grandkid, and I've seen stuff built and removed, and I never understood why, like landscaping and so on. And I have no idea why it was removed. So to me, it had to be some reason that that was completely removed, whatever was built in the front. There had to be a violation or something. So what I'm saying is, why can we let you get away with this? Are we gonna let everybody get away with it? I'm not, you know, I make mistakes myself.
Right. So I'm happy to tell you what happened in the front. Once again, my general contractor brought in Phil to build up the elevation in the front because there was an issue with the run of the stairs. Hillary Greenberg called me and she said, Tim, wasn't on the original order of conditions for the Conservation Commission. So I paid for it to be put in, and I said, Hillary, I will remove it immediately, and I removed it immediately. It was gone within days because again, my goal isn't to get up here and point out every misstep on the project. There have been very few. There was that misstep, and there was this misstep. But Hillary called me, and I immediately paid, and that was another $6,000 that I'm not here to cry about the money that's gone into this, but I'll own up to my mistakes. That's why I'm here standing in front of you guys, and that's what happened with that landscaping. The landscapers brought it in. It wasn't on the order of conditions, and I, without question, without going in front of that commission, I removed it immediately at my expense, which I should have, and I did. And I've done everything that I believe that I've done everything that I can do to be a good citizen here. And I know that everything doesn't always go perfect, but it's not, this isn't a premeditated sort of a thing. There was a miscommunication. We're trying to resolve it, and that's why I'm here.
John?
Nick, did you? Janet?
Go ahead.
I don't get a vote, but I could see saying, leave the wall, no screens, no glass.
Yeah. Nick?
Yeah, thank you for coming up with that, Trevor. I don't have a problem because I see the size of the little guy running out there. And, when he gets a little bigger, you're gonna have to do something else, but I want the roof gone, I want the screens gone, I want the windows gone. You can leave your little railing, whether it's solid or not, but if that saves.
I have a question, guys.
I don't have a problem with it.
If he had presented this with a solid wall here instead of the balustrades, but completely open otherwise,
Yeah.
we would probably have approved that.
I don't think we would have cared either way what kind of
No,
railing he put.
I don't think we
wouldn't
would
have
have
had a
cared
problem
what
with
kind
it
of
either
railing.
way.
What we don't like, and that's why the screens have got to go too, because the screens are part of a unit that is going to turn that into a
So,
room.
Basically,
Right.
what I want to see is just that railing, which is shingled, closed. I don't have a problem with that.
Done. I mean, on my end, I know you guys have to vote on it, but I'm 100% done, yes.
I would
Trevor?
suggest that if we end up going that route, that we request that the applicant submit a revised set of elevations that show no storms in the openings and the
Right.
shingled railing.
Seems reasonable.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm fine with that. Ben? You okay with
Fine
that?
with that, yeah.
Yeah.
I think, Tim's good with it, and
She
I
apparently wants to say
Right.
something.
I want to,
So we're actually not in public hearing anymore, but I know you came in late, so if you want to make that comment, you may. What?
You need the microphone.
You need the microphone.
I can't hear you.
Microphone.
Yeah, come right up.
And you need to tell us your name.
My name is Eugenia Schaefer. I'm a neighbor.
Yep.
I live on 14 Kendrick Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're familiar with where 14 Kendrick Avenue is, but it's right
If you
across
could
the
speak into the microphone, it'd be much better, please.
street. Okay,
Thank you.
sounds loud enough to me. Oh,
That's fine, thank you.
okay. I live at 14 Kendrick Avenue, across the street from the theater, and this is a neighbor across the swamp. I don't understand why you're giving him such a hard time. This place was falling apart, and they've come in and I mean, it was an eyesore. Why are you giving them a hard time about?
Excuse me, ma'am, we just came to an agreement in the interest of all parties.
Well, I just don't understand. Why are you giving these people such
Okay,
a hard time?
so Jane, just, so you are speaking in support of the application, yes? You don't want to get into a debate with the board. Are you speaking in support of the application? You think he should be able to have this amendment? Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying? Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
It's
That's
not a
all we
big
needed to
deal.
hear.
I
It's
don't
okay.
understand it.
We don't need,
I'm sorry I wasn't here at the beginning
okay.
of the session.
We're good now. Thank you. It has
So I'm
been
dismissed.
recorded.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. We ready to go to findings?
He's going to have.
Well, is he gonna
you
come
want
back
to do
with drawings?
findings and then make it contingent upon new drawings?
New drawings? Or do we want to come back
or
with
we
new
could-
drawings?
Or we continue it and.
Yeah, maybe
You want
that's
to
the
continue it, Ben, and come back with the drawings?
Yeah, I think,
Back with the
let's
drawings.
come back with the drawings, so we don't run into a
We
problem.
can't, we couldn't vote, have the drawings go to a member of the board designated to review the plans.
Say that again? What
Um,
did you say?
We could, but
I
you know
think
what?
so.
In this case, I don't think it's a good idea.
Okay.
I think in this case, it's better to continue it and make sure that
mean,
we, you know,
It shouldn't affect them. They can still move forward with construction. All
Right.
they have to do is remove the
they
storms at some
just
point.
take off the storms, right? Yeah, so it won't slow them down. They do have to get new pictures.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I
I think it's a
think we
good
need-
compromise, and
yeah.
I think
Give everybody time to
it's
come back
reasonable
and
to
have the roof
ask them to
Yeah.
come back with drawings first.
I do too. Okay?
By the time you come back, Ben, you can show us pictures of how empty it is.
So,
At brownie points.
there's a whole nother, so because of all these delays, the construction timeline is so far past, what it was supposed to be, that I've got, a bank that's in a construction phase that's supposed to be in a permanent loan by now. I mean, is it possible, the drawings that were submitted are literally the same drawings, except we'll remove those screens, right? Can we,
Is it a
scratch-
is-
financial burden to you?
It is,
It's a big
yes.
financial burden?
Right now, I don't want to get into another mess.
Okay.
Therefore, I think if we do this very much by the letter, I understand the problem, but if we do this by the letter, then you're protected, and Justin's protected, and we're protected. And I think that's a better way to go.
We'd like the earliest continuance you can.
Sure. No, that'd be February. Where's my pen? February 13th, day before Valentine's Day.
Oh, goody.
Perhaps what we could do is to state exactly what's going to happen. Because you guys, you not know the construction industry better than I do. So if we just have someone verbalize exactly what we want to see on the plans.
That's a good idea.
Because I don't,
Exactly what's there, except for the screens and the window.
And the roof.
Screens and windows.
There is no roof.
There is no roof.
But there
The-
would
no
be.
roof?
There's an
there's
upper
no
floor,
roof.
there's an upper floor deck above it.
Upper floor deck, but
Yeah,
there's
and
no
that's been
roof.
approved. That's not a roof. It's
Yeah,
not
that's not a roof, I know.
So
And
that's
it-
why
and
I'm
with-
saying these
with
are the
everything
same
open,
plans.
it will really not be a roof.
Right, exactly.
All he's doing is removing
The
the
screens and,
screens and windows.
Yeah, I mean, if I can
Deck
get-
above, the railing above, the railing below is all staying, so,
Exactly.
I got you. Now, that's actually what I wanted to hear.
thank you, Will, I know it's
So-
important.
So there's no change really to these drawings, other than I need to, where you see
you need to
the,
indicate that there will be no windows.
can we pencil it in? I mean, I'll sign on to this, and we can scratch out those windows and write in there, no windows, under no circumstances, no
Right,
windows, no screens.
windows, right. No
On
windows,
the drawings?
right.
It's up to the board. What do you think, Manny?
I don't see any.
What?
I don't see any big deal with it. They can
Is
do
this
it.
I made a note on the plan, windows and screens removed. Other than that, it's exactly the same.
I think, is this the current drawing?
Something about a solid wall,
Well, it's shown on the plan
which plan?
As a solid wall.
as a solid wall.
It's shown on the original stamp plan as not a solid wall.
This is the plans that were submitted with the application for the amendment.
Yeah, but the original application had.
I understand. What
Had
we're
this-
asking for is to stamp the amended plan, but with the removal of the windows, screens, and windows.
But it isn't just removal of the windows, it's removal of the framing around it, too.
Yes.
How does that leave just, I don't know.
Frame does it,
Is this the original drawing, Pat?
those posts don't move.
Yes, that's the original drawing.
Why don't we just
original
write
plan?
on it, no windows?
Well,
This
this is the
is-
one that was submitted. It shows a
One
solid
that's
wall.
missing, so it's a
One that
solid
we
wall,
want.
and it's,
Thing
I
and
doesn't-
the
never,
windows.
I
This is the
probably
one
don't
we
have
want.
that.
That's a supporting.
So, and then we write no windows.
Okay, okay,
No
okay,
windows
okay,
and
okay.
screens.
Hold on. This needs to be changed, where it says screens and deck on the plan.
Never throw
Yeah.
a building inspector under the
These
bus
windows
again.
need to be removed, these windows need to be removed, this needs to be removed.
Yeah.
I'd like to see new drawings.
Just come
Yeah,
back.
I'd like
I
to see
think
new.
it's a
What?
reasonable request.
I said, don't
Yeah, I
throw
think we need,
Justin
I
under
think
the
we
bus
just,
again.
let's just make it clean. If too many versions.
It's not gonna hold up the applicant.
No, it's not gonna hold up.
They
the-
can continue to work, all they have to
Continue
do is
work. You
remove the
just take
storms
Take the stuff out.
before they get their CO.
Yeah,
A
right,
door.
right,
Yeah, and the door.
yeah. I
Oh,
think
yes.
so.
Justin's gonna hold up any work?
Are you comfortable with that?
Shaking his head no.
No, not gonna, no.
He's such a nice guy, Justin.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna continue to February 13th.
How do we
Yes?
make sure that that's marked up, too?
Yeah, I move to allow them to continue to February 13th.
Okay, do I have a second?
A second.
Okay, all in favor? Okay.
That would be here delighted.
All right, you'll give me your phone.
Thank you all.
Thank-
Thank you all.
Thank you very,
Like I said,
very
we
much.
just
I really do
Thank you.
appreciate your time, even people who
Continue
weren't in favor. Thank you, I do appreciate you taking the time.
2/13/20. You won't be here, but you'll give me your findings.
What?
But you'll give me the findings.
You want the findings? How much is it worth?
Not much.
Ben, if you could update the findings for next time.
Well, you just did Ben's.
I mean, all you have to do is put that there's, you know how to do it. You've done it.
Good, thank you.
So,
I hope when I come, you guys give me,
before you go,
I'll tell you what, we'll put Audrey's
these
house back there.
all need to change. That needs to come off. And we're gonna get really nitpicky.
Crap up that
This was
property
shown
from
as
here.
a baluster railing, and it's now shown,
I almost lost him with that.
I didn't bring it up. I don't know
I mean, he
if
watched
anyone else
Audrey
is gonna notice
violate
it.
every ordinance
But
in the book.
I noticed it. So I don't know
Exactly.
if we wanna change this back to a baluster railing.
You're on mic.
I don't think they've put a railing up there yet. I'm not sure.
Put it on the plan.
Okay, but make sure, if you're gonna change it to a cable rail, if you're gonna change it to something besides a baluster railing, which is what was shown in the stamp plans, add that to your list of changes.
Right, good. Okay. All right, I have
You know, the
I have one piece of business.
What?
I have one piece of business for you. We got a order of dismissal. Wake those men up. Annie, pay attention. All right, we're done with that. Pay attention. On September 24th, 2019, the court entered an order remanding the case of Bromberg and Cody. On December 9th, they docketed the notice. At any rate, at this point, since the whole thing has, the Codys have filed nothing in response, the court has dismissed the complaint.
Well, missed
Champagne?
them. Congratulations, Ben.
Well, at the meeting, Bruce said on a number of occasions, "What are we doing here? What are we doing here?" And I don't know if I.
Can
I don't
those
think I
poor
told you
people
this, but the
finally start
reason-
building now?
The reason for that second remand to your board was to call his bluff. I was pushing him into a corner, and they didn't take the appeal, so that was why we were there. So I felt I had to apologize to you, Bruce, for
No, it's not
being
about,
here, but
by the way, since it's all over, I thought the judge had no business sending it back without a judicial determination that there was some inadequacy. That's just not right. You know, she's getting paid the big bucks to make decisions.
but I'm just happy that it's over.
I don't care if that's
Yeah.
not.
It is what they are. Okay.
Ben, always a pleasure. I'm happy it's over too, because that just
Okay,
was,
all right, and
I'm
now.
glad it's over.
and now-
Congratulations.
And now,
congratulations.
yes,
See you
congratulations.
Saturday.
And we have minutes.
Okay.
I move to approve the minutes of the,
They only went out yesterday, or should...
They're very quick study.
yeah, everyone's read them.
Second.
I move to approve the minutes of whatever.
I'll second.
I read them thoroughly.
All right.
Yep, we're all good.
We had a
It
second.
was
I think
December
Manny.
something, I forget the
All in
date.
favor? All right, move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
By acclamation.
Okay, we've adjourned.